Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place we discuss all things USMNT y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. Joining me once again, my co-host Tocayo, all the way from Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico. Adrian, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, dude? Out here, slightly recovering from a throat infection, um, and excited for the El Clásico Regio this weekend, which I thankfully, and shout out to my boy Max out there, will be attending.
Dope, man. Max has been hooking it up, man. Good
Hell
guy,
yeah.
good guy. Hey, man, that's funny. I've also had recovering from a throat infection, so there we
She.
go. Yes. Nah, but let's get into it, man. This episode, we're going to be discussing a kind of ranking, actually, the top 10 foreign born naturalizado players who have played for Mexico, i.e., players that were born in another country but ultimately decided to represent La Selección Mexicana on the national stage. There wasn't a lot. I think in the history of La Selección Mexicana, there's been 14 total, and a lot of them have not been successful. So we've gone ahead and ranked the top 10 of them. Let's get into it, man. Starting with number 10, the worst of the bunch that we have here. Someone who maybe you don't even remember him for his one appearance with La Selección, but he definitely is a Liga MX player that played throughout most of his
Yeah.
career. Liga MX representing
Mhm.
Veracruz, Tigres, Atlas. But back in 2009, he had one cap with La Selección Mexicana. We're talking, of course, about Lucas Ayala. Lucas Ayala, number 10 ranked. What do you remember about his time with La Selección? His brief time.
Pretty much nothing. I remember that he got called up. I think he was playing with Tigres at the time, and I remember him getting a call, and I was like, well, you know what, well deserved, because he wasn't necessarily the most talented player or the one with the best technique, but man, he was a BC worker bee. He was pretty much all the way through the pitch. He's one of those box to box, old style kind of center midfielders. So it was nice to see him getting that call up. And this is one of those players that has spent pretty much all of his career, as you said, in Mexico. And I guess football wise, he came to his peak, or his entire history as a football player was essentially built in Mexico. He's one of those players that, yes, he was born in Argentina, but he feels as Mexican as he can be. You know, he pretty much laid on roots over here and whatnot. So nothing against him. You know, there's no reason why we put him at number 10. It's just that his impact to eltri is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah, a player that maybe or not maybe, but had his best moments in Liga MX with Tigres, and kind of that's when he did get called up for that one
Mhm.
appearance. And
And
yeah,
those were
it
the
was
times when
one and
Tigres,
done.
those were the times where Tigres were bad. So um, again, nothing against him. It's just that if we were to choose another name that isn't Lucas Ayala, man, I don't think you or myself knew anyone, you know, beyond this point of Lucas Ayala. Because I was looking at the all the you know all of the naturalizados I have ever played with Mexico, and a bunch of them were like from the freaking 40s, from the 30s, 50s, and 60s. So we're not that old.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, we do not have any recollection of those players, so don't ask us. Um, so number 9 here between the top 10 foreign-born players to represent three. Matias Bosso, the Santos legend, the guy that became a Liga MX deadly striker for a couple of years with Santos. Later went on to play for America, Atlas, and close out his Liga MX tenure with Cruzazul. 15 caps with Mexico, scoring 6 goals. Playing between the years of 2008 through 2015, which was crazy to me when I
Yeah.
realized that he was in only 15 caps in those 7 years. An Argentino born, representing Mexico, obviously. Also, man, had a little better uh, longevity with La Selección than Lucas Ayala, but ultimately he was not the answer to the very tried question of who's going to be leading Mexico's forward line, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
had 6 goals, but really not against any big powerhouse opposition, and not really what he wasn't able to replicate his form at America and Santos with La Selección.
Yeah, no, and I guess before I dabble into Matias Buoso, I just want to remind the PPG Nation that yes, we're making this ranking of top 10 naturalizados, and we're taking in consideration not only their impact to eltri, but also their, I guess, career as a club player, right? So as you mentioned, Jose Matildo was also pretty much a legend in Liga MX. El Oso Polar. I don't know if you remember his nasty ass dance that he made whenever he scored.
Yeah,
But interesting fact about Matias Boso, he was actually he played for Manchester City back in, I don't know, early 2000s, I guess. He
I
was a
think he
Manchester.
played with Beasley at
Yeah.
Manchester City. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so, funny enough, I mean, of course, he wasn't able to materialize or reach his potential at Manchester City. He ended up playing with Santos Laguna, which goes to show that Santos Laguna does an extraordinary job on finding talent that is fit for Liga MX. But yeah, I mean, he 6 goals, not too bad. I honestly don't have many good memories of him playing with El Tri. I know that historically El Tri has a struggle to have a strong striker. Uh, After the likes of Jared Borghetti, maybe Chicharito, Carlos Vela, and so on and so forth. And these were the times where Sven Goran Eriksson was part of he was the coach of El Tri. And he is the one that opened the door for a lot of or not a lot, but at least a good number of naturalizados. And some of those names we'll see here on this list as we move forward. But Jose Matias Barboso, uh, yeah, I mean, what else can I say?
Yeah, I've also having won La Clausura 2008 with Santos. He also was the top scorer for Clausura 2005 and Apertura 2005 in Liga MX, scoring against Canada, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Chile, were his four opponents he scored on against when he represented Mexico.
Not bad.
Uh, yeah, I mean, Chile, that was in the 2015 Copa America when Chile was at their peak. So I scored 2 goals against them there. So
That's crazy.
not too bad. Number 8 on the list, another Argentino, one that made his name for Pachuca, ultimately won title with Tigres, ended his career with Tigres. Damian Alvarez, he had 2 caps with Mexico, 0 goals, both between 2012 and 2013. Damian, who if we think Wasso is a Liga MX legend, I think him is even more so, right? His
Hell
tenure with
yeah.
Pachuca, his time with Tigres. I can't remember. How many titles did he win with Pachuca?
Pachuca, I think he won maybe one Liga MX or two Liga MX titles, but he won a Sudamericana,
La
which is,
Sudamericana, yeah,
yeah, which is the biggest title that any Mexican team has won internationally, right?
yeah,
So, yeah, this is another example of being a great player for Liga MX, having a good career in Mexico, and unfortunately for him, this was the time when they were swapping coaches left and right. Sven Edison got fired. They brought in Bucetich, and I think Bucetich is the one that brings him along with the likes of, I think, Lucas Lobos, but Lucas Lobos didn't play, and it was just very unfortunate that he got caught in the mix of all of this back and forth of Doña Fede trying to figure its way out of this mess, ultimately landing in El Piojo Herrera, but. I think if given the chance, Damian Alvarez would have been a great addition to El Tri for at least the 2014 World Cup.
yeah, definitely. A very a player that gave it all on the field, right? He never that guy would exhaust himself to the end and never show tiredness and track every ball down and win. He was a battler on the field more or
Dog,
less.
he only had one dribble and was like going from the outside and then coming in and breaking your weight. Sorry, your waist. Um,
It
but
worked.
yeah, every single time he did it, every single time it worked. I don't know how. I mean, every single opposing team knew what he was gonna do, and yet it worked. So yeah.
Hey man. Well, yeah, Damian Alvarez, number 8 on the list. Another Argentino here for us, number 7 on the list. One that gave us probably his biggest contribution to La Selección Mexicana and to all of Mexico, gave us El Bebote. We're of course talking about El Bebote's dad, Christian Chacogimenez, who played with Veracruz, America, Pachuca. Obviously, that's and Cruzazul, where he really became, I think, the legend that he is in Liga MX.
Hmm.
Five caps with Mexico, zero goals. All his five caps come in between or in the year 2013. Again, kind of in that time frame where
Hmm.
Mexico didn't have an identity, was switching coaches left and right, and he was one that probably suffered because of this, only having five caps with
Yes.
Mexico. What can you say about Chaco Jimenez?
I mean, you said pretty much it, man. You summarized it pretty well. The biggest contribution that this guy has made is just birthing or contributing, because he wasn't, he didn't give birth to El Bebote, but just contributing the seed that that made El Bebote, which I guess that's all we can ask from him, right? He's another guy that played with Pachuca during La Sudamericana. So career wise in Mexico in Liga MX, definitely a legend status for El Chaco Jimenez. He was one of those bunch of players who got on those years in Liga MX. Naturalization got really popular because at that time, even though they had a uh, non homegrown player rule in Mexico. If you were a foreign player and got naturalized, you were allowed to play as a Mexican, as a Mexican, and so teams were, pretty much building up the squad with like five or six, seven naturalizados. Tigres did it plenty of times, and so it was chacogimenez, Damian Alvarez, Lucas Lobos, and some other names that I remember that were pretty much, rope into the situation and trying to make it work. There was a huge controversy around those years in, in all Mexico, but damn, I really wish that we would have seen Chaco Jimenez at his greatest with El Tri.
Yeah, could have definitely contributed there.
Hmm.
Him and Damian at their peak. Someone who I think personally you have rated too high. I would have probably rated him under Chaco Jimenez and under Damian Alvarez.
Oh.
Number six on the list, the Brazilian, the first non-Argentino on the list, Leandro Augusto. Many of y'all remember him for his long blonde locks. Played with León, Pumas, Tijuana, and Puebla. He ultimately had most well known for his time at Pumas, right?
Hmm.
His ultimately had six caps with Mexico, scoring one goal, and was capped between the years of 2008 2009. Um, what memories do you have of Leandro Gusto with Mexico, man?
I mean, I don't really have a lot of memories, but I do have more memories of him on the pitch playing for El Tri than I had for Chaco Jimenez and Damian Alvarez. Even though he had almost the same caps as Chaco Jimenez, I do remember sitting down, watching, a Copa America or Copa Oro, and seeing him play with El Tri. And I also ranked him at, pretty much higher than these two guys just because of that reason, because even though his tenure at El Tri wasn't significantly longer than El Chaco Jimenez. I think, at least in optics, he had a higher impact. I think, at the point in time they were trying to see if he was a suitable replacement for Antonio Nelson Sina, or uh, you know, uh, I guess just trying to find if he could replicate that formula. And yeah, that's pretty much the memories that I have of him. And then on top of that, he's one of those few players that is a bicampeón in Liga MX, which is not an easy feat, right? But yeah, that's the whole reason why I
Yeah,
put it above those two guys.
the memories I have of him are he was Sven Goran Eriksson's like favorite player.
Yes.
For the longest, for the whole like 2 years that Sven Goran Eriksson was in charge from 2008 2009, he was always like the first one called up.
Hmm.
And that, obviously that's when he got his six and only caps with Sven Goran Eriksson. So that was a funny moment when he was like that whole era of La Selección of El
Dude,
Tri when they had Goran Eriksson. That was
this man was
a
a
crazy
party boy,
moment.
dude. He was a party monster, dog.
Yeah, he was a party 60-year-old guy.
Uh huh.
Yeah, he was, man.
La Junta. La Junta de Dueños.
That guy came from England, right?
Uh huh.
From England. Then he was Manchester City. Then he went to Mexico.
Uh
Sven
huh.
Goran Eriksson, man, what a
What a time.
time. Yeah,
Exactly.
Number five on the list is a player that still technically can play for La Selección, a player who's still
Hmm.
active, a player who we talk a lot about Tigres, but this guy's on the other side of Monterrey, playing for Los Rayados, as there has been their leading their line, their main striker for the longest time now. Rogelio Funes Mori, of course, we're talking about. A player for Rayados who has 17 caps in Mexico, 6 goals. All those caps, really official caps, coming in between 2021 and 2022. Another Argentino, obviously. His brother played for La Selección Argentina, but Rogelio Funes Mori decided to play for eltri.
Yeah.
Do you consider his time with Mexico a success?
I mean, it's a tough one, right? I think that he just like El Chacogimenez and Damian Alvarez got into El Tri in a very tough spot. You know, he was essentially El Capricho of Tata Mezquino for this World Cup. I rank him as a number five because he scored 6 goals, and I think if you look at his performance as a club player with Monterrey, leaving aside or putting aside the fact that he's not a clutch player in Liguilla, he is top scorer for Monterrey. He's a very constant striker for Liga MX, and the fact that he got called up to El Tri says something, right? It's just that it was. I think this was of course his only chance to go to a World Cup, and I just felt that he could have done more, just because of the reason, or I guess the entire turmoil that Beltri was going through. Right, we didn't have like a nine, a striker, strong striker that took the lead. Raul Jimenez was essentially not on his in a very good fit level, and this was a time for Rogelio Funes Mori to pick up the slack and show that he was meant to be the number nine for El Tri. And I don't know, I don't really know what happened. I think he was just buddies with El Tata. I wouldn't be surprised if he you know giving some cash, some money to go to Qatar. Don't quote me on this. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm not accusing anyone of whatever, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But the whole reason why I'm putting him so top is just mainly because of his club performance, and
Mhm.
I guess his kind of sort of relevant impact for the 1 year he was playing for El Tri.
Yeah, I got two questions about Funes Mori for you. He's 32. He's going to be 33 in March. He hasn't played an official match for Mexico since 2022. Do you think his time with La Selección is over?
Dude, I mean, the question even offends me, my guy. He's done. He's done. You have Raul Jimenez coming back in a great form. El Bebote Jimenez still scoring out there in the Eredivisie. And then there's one player that I'm not gonna mention right now. I'm gonna save it for a couple minutes later. Um, but yeah, I don't think the only reason why he will go or be eligible. I guess he's still eligible, right? But the only reason why he will be a good solution for El Tri is that we don't have any other strikers available but this guy.
I mean, it was even before the start of the Liga MX this season. It was looking like Monterrey was trying to get rid of him,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
So I mean, it might be on the downward decline for Funes Mori here.
I
Now,
agree.
you mentioned Raul Jimenez. I mean, Raul Jimenez is 32, the same age, but I mean, Raul Jimenez is obviously playing in with Fulham. And
Exactly.
my other question about Funes Mori for you, when we compare him to the other forward we've talked about here, Matias Bosso, who do you think had a better Liga MX impact?
Oof. I'm gonna say Matias Buoso, man. Um, I think bang for your buck, Matias Buoso gave more to Liga MX than Rogelio Funes Mori did. I think Rogelio Funes Mori definitely performance wise, and just in general is a better player than Matias Buoso in all aspects. But Matias Buoso is a signature player of Liga MX, right? On every single team he made an impact. Even when he was in, I guess maybe not America that much, but in Santos he was turning pretty much every single team up. In Atlas, in his last hurrah in Cruzazul, I mean, I think, as I said, bang for your buck, Matias also was more effective.
Okay, okay, I respect that. You're gonna anger some Rayados fans, but I
Nah,
respect it.
wouldn't be the first time.
Um, yeah, or the last. All right, number four on the list, Gabriel Caballero, a player who played for Santos, Pachuca, Atlas, Puebla, a player that became naturalized for Mexican as a Mexican on in December 2001 when he was playing with Pachuca. Uh, Mostly known for his time with Pachuca, right? He
Hmm.
played with Pachuca, then went off to another team, came back to Pachuca. Then I think he went out. He went to Pachuca like three times throughout his career, and ultimately, became a coach. Coached Pachuca, coached Juarez, Mazatlan most recently. Um, this is probably the guy that oldest guy on the list in terms of having to go back to early 2001,
Yeah.
2002. So another Argentino. What do you remember, Caballero?
So the one thing I remember about Caballero is I was super young, and I remember him being a strong feat for Liga MX. And for some reason, Mexico was looking for a center midfielder, but they couldn't just get a hang of someone. I can't remember the name of the player. And Caballero came as a solution, right? I rank him this high in the list because of his, I guess, the media impact that he had. He wasn't necessarily the first. I don't think he's the first naturalizado to ever play with Mexico at a World Cup. I don't think that's the case. But this is definitely the one that I remember the most, being one of the most controversial ones, right? Because as you said, he naturalized in 2001, and within a few months he was already called up on that list for uh, Korea Japan 2020, 2002. So that's the whole reason why I put him up here. I think he's definitely a legend of Liga MX. He's a legend of Pachuca. As a coach, he hasn't been any great. As a player,
Yeah,
he was definitely a very decent one. And I want to say that he also won Sudamericana with Pachuca, if
yeah,
I'm
he
not
did.
mistaken. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
So I think overall, like if you look at him as a club player, he had an impact for Liga MX. If you look at him as a just eltri player, even though he only had 8 caps, as I said, media wise, right, PR wise, that was like a big breakthrough. At least from what I remember, to be very controversial, to be something that was almost a taboo for some pundits in the media to just think of a naturalizado taking the spot for a, I guess, born Mexican in the World Cup.
Yeah. And I think on the list, he might be the most decorative Liga MX player. He
Hmm.
won Primera División Invierno 1996, 1996 with Santos. He won la Primera División Invierno 1999, 1999, Invierno 2001, 2001, Apertura 2003, Clausura 2006, Clausura 2007 with Pachuca, Sudamericana 2006 with Pachuca, CONCACAF Champions Cup 2007, 2008 with Pachuca. That's when Pachuca was dominating all of
Yeah.
CONCACAF.
Hmm.
So he definitely, and he was a top scorer in Mexico shared in 1997. So very much decorative, a lot of accolades for him in
Yeah.
Liga MX,
Hmm.
leading him to be number four on our list. Number three on our list, another Argentino to no one's surprise here, Guillermo Guillermo Franco, El Guille Franco, a Monterrey legend who also played for Pachuca. 25 caps with Mexico, 7 goals, ball between 2005 and 2010. El Guille Franco a lot more than many people in Mexico just because, we grew up watching him play against Tigres constantly in los
Hmm.
clásicos. What do you remember about Guille Franco with El Tri?
El Chille Franco. I think his time in El Tri was. I don't think he was bad. I don't think he was the greatest, but I remember him being, a he became one of El Tri's European Legion players, right? And the whole reason why he was getting called up with El Tri is because he was able to remain competitive at El Villarreal or West Ham. I put him on the third spot just because of the reason that he went to 2 World Cups with Mexico. He went to 2006 and 2010. And
Mm-hmm.
while he wasn't at his peak on both World Cups, he was still able to, be a kind of sort of reliable striker. Those were the times when you had Tomarcito Bravo as striker. You had maybe Jared Borghetti, you had a Jared Borghetti on the the end of his career, and then the likes of Chicharito, Carlos Vela, and those guys were coming up. So it was kind of I think he was a good in between striker for Mexico. He, as I said, he didn't do great, but he wasn't necessarily bad. He was there when Mexico needed him. 25 caps, 7 goals, 2 World Cups. I don't, I'm not gonna say that he's a Liga MX legend. He's definitely a Monterrey legend. Um, but yeah, this is El Chille Franco.
I don't remember, but he went to Chicago Fire at his last team
Oh yeah,
in
yeah,
MLS. Yeah, I think back like in 2011 or something, 2012, he was at Chicago Fire, which was funny. But yeah, El Guille Franco, number three on the list. Number two, a Brazilian, another Brazilian here for us, Antonio Nelson Sinha. Sinha, of course, better known as Sinha, just the one name, how our Brazilians like to be known. Played for Monterrey, but really known for his time at Diablo Rojos Toluca, right? He played 59 caps with Mexico, scoring 6 goals, all between 2004 and 2014. Senior, man. Definitely a Liga MX legend and the foreigner with the most caps for Mexico.
yeah. I mean, I think arguably he's probably the best naturalizado that has ever played with Mexico in the history of eltri. I do. I mean, to me, I pretty much grew up watching him with eltri's shirt. He went to 2006. I'm not sure he went to 2010. I don't think he did. But he was crucial for that Ricardo Lavolpe team that pretty much flew on every single match. I mean, they dominated the qualification round in CONCACAF. That's pretty much the very first time that I saw Mexico essentially walk through CONCACAF and just qualify for the World Cup. They put up a strong fight against the likes of Alemania and Argentina in that Confederations Cup of 2005. And Sinha was the captain leading that team. Uh, we put him as a number two because I personally think there's a player that can have this kind of impact with El Tri, younger one definitely, and I think the number one has, as I said, a lot of potential to be a strong suit like Antonio Nelson Sinha was. But man, I mean, what can I say? Sinha is definitely a Liga MX legend. Um, I'm gonna put myself out there and say that he's also a very important player for El Tri in recent history, and the fact that he was perhaps the one naturalizado with the least controversy. Right? He wasn't a naturalizado that, at least I don't recall pundits making a lot of fuss uh, because he was getting called up. Uh,
He was always one that no matter who you supported in Liga MX, you like that guy. You always had
yeah.
to root for that guy. And
Hmm.
pundits felt the same way. I think when you look at Guille Franco or Funes Mori, it's always they're criticized for being los regios. They're just from Monterrey. That's the only place where they're liked. Or if you go look at chacogimenez or Damian Alvarez, again, they were probably like los argentinos, right? And Warsaw as well. This guy, though, I mean, he played pretty much his whole time with Toluca. He did play a little stint with Monterrey, but he was just, I think everybody liked him. And
Yeah.
he was just, everybody accepted him with La Selección. I remember him with the El Tri shirt that was kind of had the white V,
Oh yeah. Uh
and
huh.
then
The
when he
last
was number
Nike shirt.
seven, yeah,
Yeah.
when he was number seven for La Selección, that
Hmm.
was a dope shirt. But yeah, definitely a El Tri, Liga MX legend for sure. And I think we both agree that he's up there. If not a El Tri legend, he's up there as one of El Tri's
Yeah.
good players for sure.
No questions, man.
Yeah. Number one on the list, one that's going to be controversial because he hasn't even stepped foot in a green shirt yet. But you already believe in this guy. You already have him ranked as the number one foreign-born player to wear a three jersey. 26-year-old Tigres Atlas, currently with America, yet to make his debut with El Tri from Colombia, Julian Quiñones. Why do you have him as number one?
My man, I mean, it's pretty obvious that Julian Quinones is perhaps, if you look at the list the ranking that we made today, right? If you look at all these players, Julian Quinones is the one with the highest ceiling available. Even if you look at, the likes of Funes Mori, chacogimenez, Adrian and Adrián, all of them, when they rolled up into playing for Del Tri, they were already at their peak We have yet to see Julian Quinones at his peak, and he's making a huge impact on Atlas and America. He wasn't a determining player or a strong player for Tigres just because Tigres has pretty much all of the stars of Liga MX. Uh, but with Atlas and America, you can see that he is taking that leadership role. He's pretty much making an impact right as soon as he got lumped into the team. He is a strong striker. He has the ability that the current Mexican strikers do not have, which is he knows how to play as a number 9 to retain the ball. He also knows how to play on the wing. He is great when he gets paired up with a 9 that is able to repel balls and attract opposition, so he can exploit the spaces. He's fast. He has a strength. He has long distance shot. He can jump, even though he's not too tall. My guy, this guy, he's just pyrotechnics, dude. He's I'm excited for this, man. I honestly think that if everything goes well with him, he will be the best naturalizado ever to play with Mexico. And you can pretty much snip this, make it a freaking short video, and uh, and save it for posterity, dude, because he's gonna make it. He's gonna break that tension that the pundits are making just because he's gonna get called up. He's gonna play for El Tri, whether you like it or not. It's just gonna happen. It's bound to happen. And the fact that people are saying, well, he's why are we using non-born Mexican players? Is because we don't have this talent, dude. And on top of that, he is technically, if you look at the rules, he's technically a homegrown player for a Liga MX team. He came to Tigres when he was 16 or 17, which, according to the rules, is you have to be less than 18 years old to be considered a homegrown player for Liga MX, which he is. He joined Tigres, as I said, 16, 17 years old. He played for Lobos WAP. Then he came back to Tigres. And as you saw, he's bicampeón with Atlas. He's tearing it up with America. He also was champion with Tigres as a sub, right? Um, but man, I don't think he's gonna go to Europe. And if he goes to Europe, that's gonna be great. We're gonna have another Mexican in Europe. Uh, but regardless, if he stay in Liga MX, if Henry Martin is able to make an impact for El Tri, and Henry Martin, we all know, as much as we like him, he is technically challenged. Someone like Julian Quinones that has those strengths that Henry Martin has, as paired up with the best abilities of Raul Jimenez of not being a just one trick striker. Uh, Julian Quinones is like he's the key, man. He's the solution for a lot of all of the issues that El Tri has at the front.
Oh wow, big words, man. Julian Quinones has a lot to live up to from these predictions from Adrian from TP. Uh, can he be the one that unlocks El Tri's forward presence? That's easy to be the answer to all of El Tri's prayers. We'll find out. Do you think he'll be called up for the friendlies in what is it, October?
Yeah,
Is it
I think
October
he's
or
gonna.
November?
It's October. They're gonna play against Germany, and I don't know the other one, but I think I haven't heard, but if his I guess paperwork comes through, he's gonna get called up on one of those matches.
Yeah, for sure. Well, exciting times. We're excited to see him play. These have been our top 10 naturalizados for la selección mexicana. Uh, controversial on some, maybe, but let us know what your thoughts are on this for sure. Definitely in the comments below. Do you agree on some of these disorder on some of these choices that we made here? Again, there wasn't a lot to go by.
Hmm.
There has in the history of Mexico there hasn't been a lot of naturalizados that have represented the shirt, but these are probably the top 10, yeah, at least in our opinion. Adrian, man, as we wrap this up, dude, where can our listeners find us, brother?
They can always find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Instagram Twitter at Puro Pinche Gol. We post stuff every now and then.
Yep. So be sure to follow us, and yeah, like I said, let us know in the comments. Do you agree with this list or not? And were we missing anybody critical? I don't think we were, but let us know. Adrian, man, another good episode with you, brother. I hope you enjoy El Clásico this weekend, bro.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Always a pleasure.
Likewise, man. See ya.
No pressure, Julian Quiñones.
See ya, man.